Morning. How are y'all doing? Sunday morning. And I'm my engines are starting to rev up a bit, but I'm still a bit slow. It is 6 a.m. in the morning. I think it feels like I'm kind of saying that it's getting to be starting to get about as it's almost like my catchphrase by now. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. How you do it? We'll see. Probably yeah, it's not going to be a catchphrase. Hopefully not, but who knows? That's how catchphrases work, right? You don't really know. It is what it is. All right. Just give me a second. The coffee will kick in soon. In the meantime, I think I can update my list of to-do stuff, though. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm looking at the project, the rock we've been working on for the past, I think it's in this entire week, so 5 days then. I was thinking we're reaching the end of that project soon, which might be for the better because I didn't expect to go on for so long. Who knows? Hopefully it's appreciated. I've had a blast working on it. So we're working on textures right now. We did manage to get some progress made yesterday. And we're going to finish that texturing today. I was thinking, what else could I do? So I'm thinking I'm going to, assuming that there are at least a few interested in what else you would do, like the final steps of exporting Painter, a Painter project and mesh and everything, like how bringing everything to Unreal, what that would look like. So I'm thinking we could do that. So what I will do is import assets to an Unreal project. And I think I'm going to pick the free sample project from Megascans or Quixel. I think they're more known for Quixel. Perhaps their name now is purely Quixel. It's gone back and forth a bit, at least my impression. Or should I say that they've always been Quixel, but their marketplace, their online store, which I assume it's the was the Megascans store or library, is now gone. I think they were bought by Epic a few years back. Now, or at least the Megascans library is probably still there. I haven't checked for in a while, but Unreal's marketplace is gone, renamed at least to Fab. I think it's an unfortunate name, to be honest. I personally like the Unreal Marketplace a bit more. But hey, Fab works anyway. It's personal preference, though. All right, so I need an arrow. Not really, though. It's not necessary, but I like the look. So looking at my to-do list, hopefully you could see it. Is it like this? There you go, up here. We've done these things, and now you're professional hiding my face. We're at the second to last stage now, all right? I think we could, I'm not going to do any fancy stuff inside Unreal. Oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. Got a bit of tangent there. Yes, I'm using a free sample project called, I believe it's the Dark Runes. or something along those lines. And it's a Megascans project. That's, as far as I know, no, it is free to use. So I would definitely, I highly recommend if you're interested in Megascan stuff and the more realistic things you could do in Unreal. And there's a few really cool like fog stuff, and in general a lot of cool technical stuff happening in that scene. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, learning more about how to create realistic scenes in Unreal, highly recommend this project and tons of other projects from Megascans. There's really cool technical projects out there, all free. At least you can't reuse them and resell stuff, yes, but you can go in there, you can learn, you can look at it, and it's quite interesting. I think what actually the most interesting project they did, it's quite a few years back now, was, I believe, one of their employees replicated Orgrimmar, the outside, the main entrance of the city of Orgrimmar from World of Warcraft. That was pretty badass. And he managed to do quite a lot with their, I believe it's all Megascans assets. All right, just double checking my stream, making sure everything's looking fine. Once we're done with the rock, though, that's a bit more up in there what to go for next. And I'm thinking we can still continue along this line of modeling and texturing stuff. I've had a blast. I kind of want to go forward with that. The game is unfortunately still on hold. I'm struggling with the next step, but I did get some cool advice from a few chatters yesterday. To be more precise, it wasn't much of well, it was still advice. It was more of a pep talk, which I highly appreciate, really appreciate that. And we kind of started talking about my the way I looked at the project, but very short. This is like a few DMs back and forth, and where I started to feel like, you know what I should be doing is more or less what they recommended, or kind of pushed me towards. That is just create something, focus on sound, focus on just use this, I believe it's called the state machine in Unreal. I have very little understanding and knowledge about the animation part of Unreal, especially when it comes to creating AI stuff, like not AI as we have come to know it in like what's going on right now, but the old type of AI, or the less new type of AI, where you have like character replicating behaviors. I was about to say something along the lines of individual, personal, or it's on my tongue. The words at my tip of the tongue. Either way, I will look more into sound first of all. Yes. I'm also considering changing my schedule, streaming schedule, because I do have a regular job. I've mentioned this many times before, and that takes up majority of my weekdays. And then I have 2 days where I don't stream during the weekdays, or actually during the entire week. And that's on Mondays and Tuesdays, which allows me perhaps, and let's be generous, 6 hours during those 2 days to work on things outside of this, just pure streaming stuff. So that allows me the time to work on what I want to do with the project, or videos I do on YouTube. Then you have Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. The time after work, usually I'm exhausted, so I can't really I don't always have the energy to do anything. In the mornings, of course, that's when I'm streaming. So mornings starts at 6 and my day ends after work at 7 p.m. or 1900 hours. 19. So it tends to be very difficult for me to keep working after that and make progress on other stuff. And the weekends are much easier because I stream in the morning, and after around 9, 10, yesterday was actually 10:30, almost 11, I end the stream. And then after that, I can focus on work. But doing video editing, working on scripts, working on the game, all those things take so much time. And it's kind of where I believe this stream can take off. Because as far as I know, as far as I researched, being found on Twitch, although it has happened to me, I do have a few followers, I do have people working with me, or just jumping into chat, having this small talk with me. It's kind of hard to be found online on Twitch. So that's why I'm thinking YouTube and other platforms would be beneficial to use, like in that aspect. And also I do like the idea of create tutorials. I feel like I don't have the balance right now between these things I want to create. Because I do want to create this as a game studio. I want it to reach a point where I can feel like I can devote myself to creating the games I want to create. So it's still something I'm thinking of, is rescheduling. And if I'm looking at either going down to 3 days streaming for at least a period of time. And that period can be a few months or maybe even half a year. It all depends. Where I'm looking long term, right? And as the studio grows, as I feel I can add more time back into the project, perhaps I can limit another side of the studio on other things and focus more on streaming. I'll come back to maybe 4, maybe 5. I want it to be 5. That's my goal. But I need to look at reality right now, and that is, it looks like 3, maybe 4. 4 might even be pushing it. But who knows? I'm still debating it. I'm still thinking of it. So long story short, there might be changes in the near future to the schedule. For the better. I believe it's for the better. All right. I think that's enough rambling. We're going to start the texture inside. Just to make sure I have all the stuff ready. Today, I haven't forgotten. I realized when I was working on sculpting, or afterwards rather, I forgot to use my little super expensive, no, it's not expensive, this little thing, which just helps me move a lot smoother across my tablet. If you were curious, I would say there's a few good options. I bought the one that's too small, so that's why I tend to not use this thing, but there is like a 10% improvement to the workflow. But it does kind of push down on my fingers. Could potentially move it up. No, I don't think I can. If I move it up, it does help a bit, but I'm not sure. It looks horrendous. If that's even important. It's not. It's not really. It's not important. I'm just a vain person. Either way. It looks fine. Pen smooth, fine. Let's transition over to, I'm actually going to launch project first. You don't have to see that part. There we go. Let's transition over. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. So that's panning. Maybe I should change that. No, it's fine. Yes, so panning is the bottom button, but moving around. Oh, sorry, zooming in is the bottom button, right? Yes. So I can zoom in using the bottom button, holding down Alt. And panning is the top one. So there's two buttons right here. And I'm debating whether or not I want to swap those around. Because I think I'm moving. I think I pan more than I zoom. I tend to zoom in to a specific level, then start painting up. What's going on? And while I'm at that level in zoom, I start panning around. So perhaps panning might be more interesting to me to have on the more easier to reach button. Let's see. And okay, so I can paint. Why is it that heavy though? It's likely because of the blending mode. The blending mode should be either add or screen, because I don't want the... Okay, so this is what my mask looks like without the paint. This is the thickness texture we baked yesterday. And I think it has to do with the distance between the two planes. It's a terrible description of it, but if you can see the closer this plane is to these sides, that makes sense. You have an edge right here. So you have... Why did my pen go away? Okay. So you have this part, the distance to this plane from these points to these points is quite big. And the further up on this part and the further to this edge you get, the closer these are. That feels like that would be roughly what's happening, but then again, see down here, that's something completely different. I don't know. It could be how far certain points are from other points. Not sure. Let's just do this. So what happened with my pen? It's still there. It's just temporarily hidden. Okay. Right. So we want the white colors to mix, but we don't want the black colors to mix with the white. So I assume we can either go with linear or screen. Screen tends to have a more subtle effect, so I'm going to try that. That did not work. Okay. What's happening? Okay. Oh, it's overlay. Of course. Yes. Yes. Overlay only affects the non-pure colors. That's how I think of it. So all the grayscale, the in-between colors are affected by overlay. That's not what we want either, is it? No. Well, I could work with that, actually. Because then we can highlight a few areas a bit more. So, okay, let's go with that. It's not the effect I'm after. But then again, I might have to add another base texture to get the effects I want. Because I do want to be able to paint this red color somewhere here in the plane parts. Perhaps not. Because what I'm looking at is the color of thick areas. I'm thinking here. Let's go with... I'm going to go with a no. And by no, I mean I'm going to use this layer as is. I'm actually going to rename it to not 9. like that. We're going to work with paint to highlight. We're going to enhance a few areas. We can actually go up a bit. Be careful. I'm not sure this detail I'm working on right now will be considered realistic rock stuff. There's another way to do that. Either control and left and right. Okay. So usually I wouldn't consider this a realistic look approach to a rock. What I am doing though is just enhancing things that I think could look cool and interesting. Just adding a bit more. It's a bit much. Should probably turn down the flow a bit so it's not that strong when I paint. It's super strong. Why did you just completely removed? Let's try this instead. Still so strong. Completely removes everything. It's because it is overlay. All right, new approach. Sorry. We're all over the place. It's not doing what I want to do, so we need to take a step back. Add a paint. Like this. Can I do it with a pen? Yes, I can. Let's add a paint. We're gonna make this screen. I am also going to play around with an alpha. No. Where are my brushes? Trying to remember all these things is kind of tough. There is a place where I can find types of brushes. Where is that again? None of these. Perhaps I should move you. What is going on? All right. Come on. Oh, it's right there. Okay, perfect. I like to work with the dirt brush. I think especially this dirt one. Let's go into this. Slow you down. Low. Okay, so this needs to be quite low. It's good. Perhaps increase the spacing slightly. That's a bit much, wasn't it? All right. On that, we're going to start adding a bit of these things around, really jumping around quite a bit. And the upside with moving to screen is that when I start to remove, hopefully, what I'll see is it's less harsh, less aggressive than it was before. But we're not going to remove, we're going to keep adding. Okay, let's go back to this part. And it might not show up like it's not obvious what's happening. But that's the point. I don't want it to be obvious. I want it to be subtle. And I'm more or less aiming for corners right now. Let's increase this a bit more. Be a bit more aggressive. And then move around a lot. Actually, this area could be quite a bit heavy on. And it's interesting to see one part just have more of this type of detail than others. Let's just add a bit in these places. Adding random stuff, like in random areas, subtly can enhance quite a bit the overall look. We don't need much of these types of detail. So do you want it to be subtle? That's kind of the name of the game right now. Subtle effects. We're going to keep adding more and more subtle effects till we feel like it's getting to a point where we're happy. Let's do a big one. Just like this. I'm really jumping around, you can tell. Where I'm moving around. It's all over the place. Let's stop there. If I do much more than this, it's gonna be too much. Okay, so I can tell from this angle that the red pops up quite a bit. Let's change that. I think this works better. So let's just see what happens. So usually when I'm reached this point, I usually put away my pen and everything, take a step back. Not literally, but figuratively I take a step back. And I just unhide my layer to look at it. Or now, before, after. And I sort of like this. This is really cool. Okay. That said, I'm questioning the color choice. I think we should a yellow, perhaps not green. I'm looking at the base color. The base color is dark, but it's leaning into, I would say, warmer colors, such as yellow, red, and the mix of that, the brownish type. So what we could do is go for we could try cool color, which will be, in this case, I'm leaning towards blue or green. But that feels like it will look horrendous. I'm not sure about that approach. However, it doesn't hurt to try. So let's see what happens if we start moving this along. Yellow color is quite decent, but I think I like the red a bit more. Green could be something. Yes, I'm not. I need to do tweaks to it. It just doesn't work with this green. Perhaps darken it down quite a bit. Perhaps even quite a lot. Actually, what's going on? Why is it pass through? Not sure why. Let's try an overlay. No. I'm just gonna jump between these blends a bit. See if we can find something. What's that? Replace, okay. That's that's okay. That one isn't too bad. Okay. Screen. Okay, let's push this up. Okay, so screen looks like it's going to be the one. But then again, if I go for darker color, that's not going to be the same effect. Less saturation. Alright. We're still not going to go for green, I think. Well, let's try. So now we're getting into the really cool, cold, not cool, cold colors. Bluish. Perhaps. And now we're back in the warm. Let's go with a red. but we're going to add some cold to it. I think that's what we're going for. So let's remove you, rename you. I don't like the one at the end. And now we're going to play around with these values. I think that works. It's subtle. It's adding to overall look. Yes, let's go with that. And that reminds me, because I'm not sure what to go for next. So we're going to go back to my references. Let's see. It's not on screen, so let's... Where should I put you? Don't need this part. So this is the rock we worked on, like towards like a reference, the main reference. But there's a few other ones that are cool to look at. This one perhaps has the closest colors. I think this one is actually the absolute closest we can get. But you can see there's some reds or warmer colors going on. Perhaps it's kind of hard to tell because it's such a small. So we can look at this one, for example. What we've done, it's kind of these things. There aren't just a single color, ignoring the highlights from sun and the glossiness, right? The reflection. This part is probably brighter because of reflection. But you can tell in these more neutral lit areas, there is a subtle, very subtle difference in color. This one is actually more green. Grayish green, so that could be interesting. We can add a brownish green in some areas. Another thing that's quite rocky are can't remember the names. At least they are common in Sweden and in Scandinavian forests, I believe, are these whitish colors. I can't say I know their name. I feel it's somewhere in the back. If someone tells me like yellow forest, that's the name. But those could be interesting to add. We could also look at the crevices, the cavities. There are two, as far as I can tell, well, there's two approaches to that part. At least what I'm usually go for. I can add them, the colors, the variation, the details in Painter. Like, okay, where's this rock supposed to be? Well, it's only used in Scandinavian forests. Okay, which means that there are certain things that will influence the look of this rock. Not necessarily all the attributes that the rock gives to the scene, which is the brownish colors, certain rock type of materials, the structure. But the forest changes the rock. I swear, it may sound philosophical and out of this world the way I explain it, but you will find moss, you'll find I wouldn't say animal leftovers, but I mean, you could find it on the rock. You can find eggshells from a bird. You can find yeah, morning Cheryl, how you doing? I'm trying to explain the attributes of a rock right now. I'm not doing the best job, I think. So anyway, what I was saying is that things will end up in the crevices of a rock. So you need to take that into consideration. The second approach is that we can add all of these things in Unreal. So we need to pass along certain textures and assets from Painter to Unreal. I'm not going to go into the details, but that just know that there are two ways to do this. Either we can just add all the moss, the minute micro details in Painter, or we can do something in Unreal to kind of give the illusion that they're no, it's not necessarily illusion either. It is, they are there. But yeah, I think the next step is to add a bit more variation to the texture. I think that's my long-winded way of saying, yeah, let's just do a bit more stuff. So how you been, Shrill? I think I'm done with my explanation, so my attention, I can only have it in one spot at a time. Let's see. Would be nice if I could enhance certain aspects. We could try detail texture. I'm not sure if that's going to work. We try it though. Actually, no, we need to look at the roughness. We haven't looked at that in a while, so let's start there. I'm just going to add this one as a reminder. Let's call it details. Hide it, and let's look at the roughness, which seems to have completely died. Maybe not completely. I think we could do a bit more. And what's going on? This is, I swear I can move around with the, I swear it looks like I'm doing really dumb things right now. So what's happening is the short key to swap between two languages on Windows and on the QWERTY keyboard is Alt-Shift. Well, the thing is, in Painter, I always hold down Alt when I move around, and every now and then I use Shift to do something else, like move around the lights. When I try to do these things quickly and jump between them, I tend to do the Alt-Shift hotkey. So I can see the pop-up on my left, on my second monitor every now and then, and that kind of makes Painter this confused child, and I can't get back to where I was. This is insane. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure if am I up or down now. Or fair enough. Okay, there you go. It's insane. All right, there we go. All right, so we're back. All right. The occlusion. So what happens with the occlusion? Usually that will be when we're back to roughness now. So, oh, there we go. I haven't even activated roughness. Okay, so I can go for. So the cavities would be the place where wear and tear happens the least, at least when it comes to wind. Perhaps not rain necessarily, but at least let's say wind. So I've always gone with the roughness in cavities. Then again, no, let's rewind that clock and say that roughness in cavities is what's gathering there. And that's usually dirt and things like that. So it'll be quite bright. Roughness will be quite bright in the cavities. So let's do that. Let's go to this menu and go to the roughness value. So now we are only affecting roughness. And I'm going to make this. Let's make it. Actually, do I need to change? I do need to change my blending mode, but otherwise it's just going to push the values on top. Hey Nathan, how you doing? Sorry for missing you yesterday. How you been? Let's see. Let's just push that all the way up. We can always turn down the opacity. That's good to hear. It's glad. So you can always push down the values, the intensity, by either going for the opacity or you can use adjust the roughness values, like the base roughness values. You can change the blending mode. So there's a lot of various options to adjust the values. Oh, so there's Bleach is on Roblox. I haven't heard about the Bleach in quite some time. They had a reboot of Bleach as an anime, right? Or like an addition to it. So how's Bleach as a game on Roblox then? And there's Naruto too. All right. I feel like that might be an issue to have either one of those on Roblox. I'm pretty sure it's not allowed, but hey, if no one's complaining, I'm not going to complain. Let's just add a subtle effect. It's very subtle. Might not even do anything in the final look, but it is something. So remind me quickly, Nathan. It's like I mentioned, it's been a long time since I watched Bleach. The Hollow are the opposing faction of the one. I can't remember. Is that Kirito? No, that's not his name. The main character of Bleach. All right, sure. Yeah, okay. You can play, but the creator might. Okay, yeah. The hollows are the big scary monsters that eat everyone. Well, that's okay. It feels like that would be every monster in an anime ever. But okay, I think I have an image in my mind of the hollow from Bleach. Cool though. Is it big on Roblox, the Naruto or the anime genre of games, or is it one of a million? Because talked to all right, yeah, sure. I can take a few minutes off. I'm a bit confused either way, so let's just look it up. Hollow Reach or Hollow Bleach, sorry. Right. Okay, it's those guys. Do you want to remember that they kind of wasn't part of the storyline towards the end? Is that true, or am I just gaslighting myself? Oh, where's the curvature? Doesn't have any roughness. That's oh, yep, that's not what we want. All right, so definitely want to adjust this. I don't think we need to adjust the blending for these. You know, I'm going to follow my own advice that said like 10 minutes ago. Let's go with that. Yeah, that's kind of the way I remember Bleach, and actually most animes ever, especially for that time period, that the characters just tend to blow up in power. The power creep is ever present wherever you go. I don't know how to. I can't say I've seen anyone really figure out a way to mitigate power creep. Like you can't really just say, "Hey, let's go to games as an example." World of Warcraft. For me, the best example because of power creep. Every time a new expansion comes out, you have to do something about the power because you can't have characters start as the best right away. Okay, so what do we do then? We'll give them more equipment. Well, then they need more and more and more equipment, stronger and stronger, and so on. The next expansion, the same thing. So after 2-3 expansions, you're like this beast of a monster doing millions of damage. I was like, that makes no sense. So I think Blizzard solved that. Well, solved. They had a fix where they just like, we're going to nuke everyone. You can't do those millions anymore. Just go down, all the way down. Kind of worked. No one complained a few years later, but anime is different. You can't really do that. How would you approach it? How would you approach power creep in an anime? if you can solve that as a game developer, I think you have something valuable. Okay. So what I don't like about this rock right now, this roughness rather, is this way too uniform. Everywhere you look, it's roughly the same. Well, no pun intended, but roughly the same values. There's no values that sticks out a bit more than the others, just slight more. And I think we need to change that. We could potentially go with the planes. We could do something with those planes. We could either have them smoother and slightly more reflective, just slight, or the other way around. Smooth would mean a lot more wear. We can add more roughness in those areas, as if the wind and water, rain, whatever you want to call it, has slowly over time whittled it down. But with that, we're going to need a unique layer for that. It's just purely meant for roughness. We're going to remove color. We're going to add roughness. Let's just push this all the way. Let's add a, where are you? Black mask. So it's not happening at this stage. Let's add a, should we add a paint? Or should we add some kind of noise texture? Usually a good idea to start with a noise. So let's add a fill. Right? Yeah. What type of texture do we want? Perlin is always nice. I personally tend to work with the cloud textures a lot. I'm not sure if there's a cloud in Paint. Should be. There we go. Yeah, exactly the same as in Designer, which makes sense. I do love this cloud one. Let's see. Should do that because it adds quite a lot of variation quickly. But I also don't like the tiling, so let's try a 2 tiling. Yes, I think that's a good start. We can always add and remove manually using paints or by painting. So let's check. There's another thing we can do before we do anything else, and that is we're going to have the filter. I think it's in filter. It could potentially be in generator, but I don't think it is. So we're going to go for sharpen one. So you can kind of sharpen up some of the details. Is there a way to do roughness? Let's just do a bit more disorder. Can I? Let's try. No, let's keep you in the middle. I don't want any black spots. Contrast could be introduced player on a slight bit, or perhaps not. Scale. Okay, that's that. Nope, we're not going to do that. Non-square. Let's do a random seed a few times. We're going to have to fix these. Ooh, let's perhaps okay. We're going to do another approach to the roughness. I can tell. Or perhaps not. Let's have a look. Turn you off. Increase the lights. Should be able to increase the lights. Mode. Window. Display export. I mean, I should be able to do it. It's just I can't tell where. Okay, that's annoying. So what I don't like with this is these types of detail. Actually, we do have the option of doing triplanar. That's not ideal, but is there anything else we can work with? Maybe triplanar, or yeah, maybe this is our best option. I'm not sure what's happening in these areas. No, don't like it. Let's go with U protection. We're gonna have to paint in these details, but it is also roughness. It's not gonna show off that much. And let's go to the actual roughness texture. It's not horrendous. Not ideal, of course, but it's not horrendous. So let's see if we can play around with the sharpness. What happens if we kind of go nuts? Can't tell. It does seem to add details, but let's just be subtle with these. We're also going with another one. It's okay to play around. I'm not sure if I know what I'm doing right now, but I have an idea at least. Let's go with black. It's not what it's called. Is it BNV? Yes, it's BNV, which stands for black and white. Let's go with this one. Let's all right, we're going to do it this way. We're going to move you up, and moving up layers in Paint, I believe it's Alt and your arrows. Yes, so Alt and arrows. We're going to turn you off. You off. We need to move you up and turn you off. So we're going to work with this as the base. And we're going to go not that low. That's fine. So we have a few spots like this. All right. So let's go to the roughness. Turn it on and off. Then, okay. So the question is, do we want these roughness to control the more? Do we want the cavities, or do we want the tips or the highlights of our noise texture, which is the black or the whites? If we go for the blacks, it's going to be like more of the dips in the surface. If we go for the whites, it's going to be more of the higher parts of the surface. We can play around, see what happens. Let's multiply. All right, we don't have. Yeah, let's go and look at the rough. We're going to make it screen. And we're going to do that. I'm just lowering the opacity a bit. 50. And then we're going to use the cloud. Oh, turning everything off. We're going to do multiply. Because what's going to happen then is we're going to kind of create these patterns where there's a variation in the noise texture. So it's not going to be completely uniform in this area. If I do it this way, I'm not saying it's perfectly uniform, but by doing this, we can make it even less uniform. And that's what we want. Uniformity is not our friend in this case. We want less uniformity. There we go. Might not even show up on our main rock either way, so. Yeah, not much is happening. But looking at the roughness, there's a lot more details than there used to be. All right, so what next then? We can always, if you don't plan of flipping your rock over using the bottom, you can always add a gradient that moves from the bottom up. Then you can have a roughness that affects, this has a more less wear on the bottom and more on the top if you wanted to. In this case, we're not going to do that, but if you wanted to do that, you would look into the bent normal texture, which in my case, I believe is in the projects. Yeah, so you would use the world space. Well, it's called bent normal, I think, in the bake window. And with various types of filters, you would have it, I believe it's a filter at least. Right? Or it's a generator in this case. It might be a generator actually. I haven't used one yet. You would go for light one or position one. Yeah, something like this. It would be the position. So you might want, you're actually using both the position and wheel space. And then you would just adjust like this. We could probably, can we rotate it? Or is it just perfectly up and down? I know you can kind of rotate it with the right left slider. So it would work the exact same way as a regular black and white mask. It's kind of way too early for arch enemies, so let's skip the rest of that song. Shrill, any news from about Quack Quack? I know it's been less than 24 hours since last time. Curious. Yeah. Still on it. So which part are you on right now? Because I assume you would have a zoomed out level version. So you would have a more less high res type of planet when you zoomed out, like in your main HUD environment. Then you would have a scene on the planet itself when you're on the surface, because you can't really, you can technically, but it's really difficult to render the entire planet at once. Yes, landscape interior can be quite complicated. You can make it really like a big spaghetti inside the material editor. Because you were in Unreal, right? You were using 2D assets in Unreal, and you were using, now you're apparently using the height, what's it called? The terrain, height terrain surface thing. All these names are kind of hard to keep track. Okay. Right, that's how you're, yeah, that's the approach you're going for. Wasn't there, kind of reminds me, there's a short video, I believe it's Epic's own video, about a mangaka, a manga author, in Japan in this case, and he used Unreal to create scenes, and then he rendered those scenes out as 2D images and painted the rest, like characters and things like that, on top of those backgrounds. It's a really smart approach because you can have one scene, one angle, and you can just add certain elements like weathering night and daytime, and you can always just press render and then paint on top of that. I mean, it would take forever to set it up, but once you have it, you should save quite a lot of time. Do you multiply? All right, I need a bit more flow. Oh. Less spacing. Not showing up, so let's choose something else. I feel like there's definitely something else I can do to this to add a bit more interest. Just not sure what yet. That's something we could do. Let's try and play around with the normals a bit. Would I go about doing that? So I could add a flat one. Let's try adding a flat normal, which would mean we need this. Need to go to normal. What can make you... Okay, so you can do that. And everything else makes no sense. What if we try this? Add a black, add a paint. I could probably get away with using something like thickness or curvature again. But I want to see if I can paint this in. Okay, so that is working. Let's see if we can paint away some of these lines slightly. See if something's smoothing these out. That's a bit much, probably. Push these a bit back, adding variation to the surface. Similar to sculpting, I guess. Very carefully moving these back. I think this is actually the best thing we've done so far. It works really well. Doesn't have to be a lot. Pushing things back slight. really have a plan. I'm just looking at various surface, various details, and just like, you know what, this needs to be pushed back a little bit. Just go nuts. Go with, what's his name? Bob Ross process. Just happy accidents all the way. Can't really do art without mentioning Bob Ross. And that's not an opinion, that's a rule. Just so you know. Let's go with the top surface to be a bit more smooth. I'm calling it top. I mean, it doesn't have to be the top. It can actually be the side of a big pillar. You can just stand like this, or maybe the other way around. Either way, I'm just going to make this quite a bit smoother. Going for, so these cavities, it's dips, that could definitely be more rough, while I'm looking at the top peaks of my plane and just smooth them out. Smooth brain. This. Kind of hard to tell what's what right now because of the uniform colors. It's just blending together. Don't worry about these seams. It doesn't really show up in the final rendering pass, or when I go to the complete viewport with all the textures, all the roughness values and everything. If you go too far, you can always push this back and then use the opacity to kind of mellow the effect a bit. Just go nuts. Don't worry too much about it. Is what I'm telling myself. And that's fine. This could be something that really helps the rock a bit. Let's see what happens if we do this. So let's look at the roughness values and turn it on and off. It's very subtle, maybe a bit too subtle. But yeah. Did tell myself when I started this. Oh, you listen to Brazilian stuff, alright. Can't really say I know what that would be. My first thought is salsa. That might be stereotyping, I don't know. What's the typical Brazilian music? You have any tips? I'm curious. All right. So, chef's choice then. What would you say would be a good area to start at? Is there a typical genre that's popular? Depending, of course, on the area, I guess, but what would you say would be a good start? All right. How's the heavy metal scene in Brazil? Nope, there's a guy on YouTube, I think he's from Brazil, who I have a few of his covers. He's doing a lot of covers like The Witcher and things like that. What's his name though? What's his name? I would say it's quite popular on YouTube. I assume, based on my own personal interests. I almost had it. What's his name? Perhaps they say controversial figure. I don't know. I'm looking here. I do have him in my playlist. I would say it's something like Ras. No, it's not Ras, but it's close. Why do I have to scroll down through my entire list? It's gonna be typically at the end, I guess. I see. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's not close to what I said. It's Dan Vasc. I want to say that he lives in Brazil and is a YouTube musician, but okay. All right, some cool stuff can happen in the underground area. I think it wasn't not well. I guess thrash metal was part of the underground in the beginning. My main thing I can think of is Nirvana. I think they started as an underground band in Seattle. I think some really cool stuff can happen there. Is it common that people sing in English, or is it more like they do it in Portuguese? Right. That's my like common sense or my knowledge of the world really shines through here. But I think it's Portuguese in Brazil, isn't it? Or a version of Portuguese. Please correct me and say I'm wrong, right? Or please say I'm right. I don't want to make a fool of myself. Perhaps I already am. Okay, I'm not going to even try and pronounce that, but okay, very rotten vomit. Yeah, I kind of got that from vomit too. Oh, don't worry about that. Yeah, so my question was, I'm not sure if I want to repeat it because it makes me feel like an idiot for not knowing, but Portuguese is the main language of Brazil, right? Just give me a yes, please. Even if I'm wrong, just give me a yes. So I don't look like an idiot. I'd say, okay. Actually, I assumed you're from Brazil, but if you're comfortable telling me, Nathan, are you from Brazil, or do you have an interest in Brazilian music? There you go. Oh, awesome. So what's happening in Brazil right now? That's a part of the world I don't really get much exposure from, so I can't really say if things are going fine or if there's anything happening, politics and all of that. That's not anything new. That's worldwide stuff. Anything else? Because Brazil has that big festival, right, with dancing street performers. I'm going to call it that. It's a bit more nuanced than that, but oh, that one. Oh no, sorry, I read that wrong. Crime in, yeah, well, yeah, once every year, and that time is come and gone. Is it a summer event or also in Rio? Yeah, big cities tend to have the fun things. Is it summer festival or a winter? Because it's in the southern hemisphere, right? So it would be the opposite from me, which is I'm on the northern hemisphere. So summer for me would be winter in your areas. Okay, yeah. We don't really have such a big event or interesting event, should I say, in Sweden. We do have a few things though, but I wouldn't say it's on this same artistic level as the. It doesn't really matter, does it? Whether or not it is winter. It's only more for me. It's more like, okay, it's colder outside. Need a jacket. Anything else? Don't really care. Luckily, we're in summer right now. It's hasn't been the best of summer when you look at the weather, but we've had some heat waves every now and then, so that's been nice. And the sun has been out every now and then, so I have to look forward. I can look forward to that part at least. I do tend to stay indoors, whether or not there's sun or rain. Okay. Yeah, well, I do have heard quite nice things about Brazil. I guess maybe it's all Rio stuff though, because even that famous Jesus statue is in Rio, isn't it? Other than that, what do I know about Brazil? Well, the rainforest stuff, of course, and football, of course, football. Perhaps I should be more interested in Brazil because I haven't really given it much thought other than what really pops up on like YouTube or whatever, and that tends to be more negative stuff, unfortunately. But I assume there's quite a lot of good stuff happening too. That's nice. That's really nice. Yeah. Would you say the Rio situation is like common knowledge, or well, common knowledge, like what's going on? It reflects what's going on in Brazil, or would you say it's not really that good of a reflection of Brazil? There you go. Yeah, maybe my knowledge is kind of limited to Rio. Usually, what happens, right? All the negative or the interesting, like, what's a good word for it? Let's call it more extreme scenarios are often covered by media. So that's unfortunate, though, that it's not really showing off other parts of Brazil if it's not really reflecting the like the nation as a whole, because it gives when media does that to countries, even Sweden or wherever, it just tends to give off the wrong impression of the country. It's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we need to be better as persons to isolate that stuff, I guess, because I don't think the media will take responsibility. Either way, politics aside. Okay. Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe games are a bit of the devil stuff. No, it's definitely not. But it's kind of fun because that's been what 30 years since at least the like since the US and the Nordic countries looked at games that way. Although it still props up every now and then the idea of video game makes people kill and things like that. No, it does not. Kind of dumb way to look at it, but it happens to music, it happens to everything, so why should it not happen to us? On the funnier side, or more interesting side though, Nathan, what's your progress on the game you were making? I am correct saying you were making a game, right? Because you're going to notice something with me is that I gaslight myself quite a lot, so I tend to mix things up. I want to remember that you're making a game in Roblox. Correct? All right. Please expand on that, because I got the impression that the Bleach game is a game you're playing, not making. Or can you make games in that game with those assets? Is that how it works? Okay, it's both then. So you can use those assets and create your own version of a Bleach game then. Okay. How's the progress? You feeling happy with the progress? I mean, it's only been 2 days since I spoke to you last time about this. Of course. Yeah. That's amazing. I'm happy for you. Because one thing, and I'm not trying to scare you when it comes to video games, is that you will have times you feel like this is shit. I'm terrible. Everything like that. Try to throw that aside, because it's a normal thing. It happens way more often than it should. But if you feel like you're making progress, stick with that feeling, man. Because that's what's happening. That's reality. You're making progress, and even if you feel like you're standing still, in likelihood you're still making progress. I'm happy you're feeling that way, because that's a nice feeling. And how's the community, by the way, in Roblox? I assume it's decent, or at least on the positive side. All right, yeah. Very common stuff. And also, it kind of depends on what you think of a prototype, right? Because you don't need textures for a prototype. You don't need proper models. The only thing you need is something that's even a tenth of what you want in the end. Because that's a prototype. Prototype can be whatever. You can use a dog as a human character just for the sake of trying things out. So if you can play the mechanics and you can try those out, then you have a prototype. So if I'm pretty sure you have a prototype, 3 or 4 years, you could probably have something that you can call a prototype, because it's so bare boned. The definition of prototype is, it's like saying oatmeal. If you have oatmeal, that's a final product. You want a tasty oatmeal plate, right? Okay, if you have water and you boiled oats, it looks like a sludge, but that's still oatmeal. It doesn't really matter if it's close to the final product. Has it an ounce of what you want, and then you have a prototype. And if it's playable, then you have a prototype. And playable, that's a very, I would say, loose definition when it comes to prototypes. So definitely don't be hard on yourself when it comes to whether or not you have a prototype. That's definitely something I've learned the hard way. Don't be hard on yourself. You're the worst. You're your own worst critic. That's reality, unfortunately. I mean, you just described the internet. 2 sides. One is insane, the other one's sane. That's just the internet. Oh, okay. That's a new world to me. I mean, controversy, no. It's just that for me, who rarely, if ever, consume Roblox like news, I didn't know that was such a split. Makes sense. It's the internet. Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like a new entity has grown up. Like it's the same thing wherever we are online. You just learning how to sift through all the bad stuff and just try to focus on the good stuff. I'm glad though that it's 50-50. I've been to places where it's like 10-90 and 90 being the bad stuff, so. Okay. Let's focus on another part of this rock. So we've played around with the normals. So we have some different details in that area. I think I really want to add a bit more color variation. It's just a bit too bland right now, which, I mean, it's a rock. It's not really that fascinating, but we can look at reference. So you can see I might want to do a bit more with this surface type. I'm not sure what that is though. It seems to be some type of roughness and colors. All right. I see you around, Nathan. It's nice having you here. Cool talk. All right, so have a good day. Okay. A waterfall? Okay. What's your train of thoughts? Are you looking at a simulation, or do you want to go for a texture approach where you have like a plane and a animated texture going? I mean, if you're going to create a big world, that might what you want to go for, depending on a ton of stuff. I would just, if you're starting out with just placeholder stuff, I would probably just add a plane, make it look roughly like a waterfall, and then just add a type of animated noise pattern. I think that could be a good start. There's probably a lot of cool free stuff. Oh, okay, so you downloaded a tool. That could be a hit or miss, especially free ones. So good luck with that one. Splines are really great, but at the same time, they can be a beast of a problem. Or perhaps that's not the spline's fault. It might be a lot of other stuff. All right. Let's make this work. I need a proper effect. So let's just go with another roughness. What are, let's call you noise. It's not the correct name, but let's go with that. And then we need a new layer. What are those patterns? Those. Let's try a brush. I'm gonna paint. I want to have my hands move. Let's do paint. Let's do it this way. Let's turn everything but roughness off. Don't want to work with normals. Let's do linear dodge. All the same process as before. Let's call it splotches. Let's just go with splotches. I might have to, or want to add to colors this at some point. They're not showing up at all. Why not? Because I haven't painted anything yet. If I do it this way. All right, here we go. Oh, of course. There we go. I'm just trying to find a value that isn't like this or super wet, but gives enough interest. Let's go with this. Let's do multiply, and we can always adjust the opacity later on. Next, let's go and add the black mask. Let's go and add a paint back, and let's find a cool brush to work with. Because what I'm looking at, we soon go back and look at this part. It's that it's quite sharp, the transition between these two details. Like the more, I would say these are less rough and these are rough patches. So we might want to flip this around, or we can just, we'll see what we do. But for now, I need to find a way to recreate these edges with a brush. The question is, can we do, no. So I want something that isn't necessarily square, but has a squares pattern to it. Perhaps this one. That's would have been close. I don't want cubes. I might have to go with the dirt again, but we can increase its contrast. See if we can get something from it. Let's go with this dirt. But I want to decrease the flow a bit. Size is fine, spacing, I think we're fine with spacing. It's position, it's not position. Where's the way to do this? Which one am I affecting by doing this? Because that's what I want. Can't tell. Hardness. Yeah, of course it's hardness. So we're gonna have a decently sharp hard or high hardness scale value. Move your side. Lower scale a bit. And I think that's pretty close. Okay, so lower the float slightly more. And make sure the hardness is up. Actually, lower the flow a bit more. I like to work with less aggressive brushes and kind of paint more on the same spot. Just keep painting. That's a personal approach. Might not be ideal in all cases, but I'd like to work that way, at least in the beginning. So we're going to work around this, trying to recreate, so leaving these white spots just a bit. So we're going to move around those, focusing on the bit more darker areas, not covering all the places, just a few of these. Give these a bit. So add a bit in the corner, in the crevices. Trying to be random with it. Now let's add a bit on the side. And let's see what that looks like on our model. Okay, so you can see a bit more interest in these areas now. I like that. Okay, we can keep going with this. All right, what time is it? Okay, so I need to step up the time, speed up a bit, because I do want to pass or export these things to Unreal. And I aim to be done with this today, so I'm going to speed up just slightly. Process is more or less the same. Finding things that are interesting, adding more interest to it. Finding places that aren't as interesting and add interest to it. Still want to keep to the 70-30 rule. I haven't mentioned that in a while, which means that you want some areas that are less detailed. Still some, but you want your eye to be able to rest a bit. So if it's just details, and very uniformly spread out, then it's not going to be as interesting. And it's also going to be tough on the eye. So be careful of that. Just keep moving it around. So imagine this plane, if we go back to the 70-30 rule, imagine this plane being the 100%. So you want to add enough of this type of detail to 30% of it, something like perhaps this. That's kind of cool. Then you're done with that part. Then you move on to the next part. In some areas, you might want to look at a bigger picture. Let's say this entire side is your 100%. Okay. So we'd then perhaps want to keep it like a bit less, more confined in one area. This rock might have more of that detail, while the other sides might have less. And you keep doing this, and then you can go back and forth until you're happy. And looking at the roughness texture like this will not really give the right impression. You definitely need to go back and look at the entire piece in its full to get the right, the right picture of the entire project. I'm repeating myself a bit there, but don't get too bogged into does this texture look correct or not. Just keep moving, keep adding. Maybe not that. Just move you back a bit. Okay, let's look. So we have on top, we have some glittery areas, less rough areas, and on the side, it's kind of hard to tell. Let's go to the dark. I don't know if it's possible, but one thing I don't like about Painter, one of very few things I don't like about Painter is the way I control the lights, or not control lights, the shift moving stuff, perfectly fine. I would like to be able to go underneath it. It's probably a way to do it. Just haven't figured that out yet. It would be nice if that, because right now it's just rotating on top as a sun type of thing, which of course is what's going to happen in game. But I would like to be able to see this side a bit better. Very subtle stuff. Okay, we're gonna try. Let's see. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try color. I'm gonna go to the base color. Let's see. Rather than normal, let's try another blend. That's kind of nice, which is div. Okay, that's light. I might go with. That's kind of cool. I'm expecting overlay. I was expecting more from overlay, but that didn't happen. Let's go with screen. And let's tone the base color layer down quite a bit. No, let's go this way instead. Let's go a dark color. Let's go with bluish color, dark. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's better. Subtle stuff, but I like that. Also, we talked about details. Let's try that too. So what I want to do now is find a very detailed noise pattern. We could go for the black and white noise, actually. Oh wait, there's another one. What's the name of it? There's one called, it's not moisture, it's, let's actually look at moisture. Let's see what it looks like. But it's not that. I don't, perhaps I can remove those. Black mask. Fill. So I do like the smaller details. I would love to get rid of these black ones, have more uniform look to it. So in Designer, there is a noise that allows me to adjust roughness, which allows me to adjust the types of details, how spread out this and uniform it is. I can't remember what's the name of it. It's not the BNV. But let's double check. Actually, that kind of works when I want. Let's just go with this. And I'll see if I can remember the name of that noise. To another. For another time, we're going to lower this quite a bit. And then we're going to make this a height or normal. Let's go with height. So we're going to turn off color. We're going to turn on height. And I want to what? I want to dig in, or I don't want to add? I want to dig in. Let's slow you slightly. Did I do anything? No. Why not? Because I need to go quite a lot in. Okay, that makes sense. So you can hopefully see it in. Let's just bump it up quite a lot. It's adding micro details. And we can play around with that to just ever so slightly. Let's work with the opacity instead. Oh, that's the wrong one. This one. Can't work with the opacity because I'm in base color. Makes sense. No, let's work with this instead. It doesn't really matter. Maybe if we go the other way, what then? So that looks like that, and that looks like that. It makes no difference. We can go. This is very subtle, so you don't want to push it too far. Let's look at normals, because we do want some roughness. I did say normal. I am well aware, but I mean roughness. Oh, that's actually a really cool effect, but way too much. And there's something about it that makes... Either way, let's turn you down quite a bit. So the slight touch to it. Let's try a different blend mode. So let's just go with screen. I think that could work. Go. There we go. Let's look at this part. Perhaps it's not all right, actually. Wrong one. Let's go with that. It's not perfect, and I would like to go in and do the same thing as I did with the base normal and just smooth out some areas. We could actually do this, a quick one. So fill, let's go to grayscale. Let's find a cloud. This time I'm going to use cloud 1. Gonna look at it like this. And like that. I'm just doing this quick and dirty. Just to add variation, which is so important. See how that made a difference. So looking at the rock from this side, we're going to turn this on and off. So we do have areas where the details that we just added are still there, but if you look at the difference is that some areas are slightly toned down. And we could also try, if we go to color, make this quite dark. Let's just try pitch black for now. And then I'm going to go to the layers panel and color and then multiply. So let's go this way. Turn this on and off. going to tone it down. There we go. That's a bit. Awesome. Is it too much? Might be too much. No, it's fine. All right. So it's closing on 8, and I think we're kind of done here in substance, at least. Let's see. Make sure I have all the names correct. Normal. Let's call this normal flat. And before I forget, we need to save. There we go. So, what I wanted to show, and the big reason I want to export this to Unreal, is there's two things I want to show. One is how to set up your own personal custom package system in Painter. And for those who are not familiar with what we mean by packing, and when we're talking about texture, so each texture comes with 3 color channels: the red, green, and blue. And we can actually go this way. Let's see if my art skills translate into Painter. All right. So a texture has the red, the green, and the blue, and also alpha. So what we can do, instead of sending each texture, like the base colors, the roughness, the normals, the height, as separate textures, we can combine them and then have Unreal check each channel for that texture. So we could, so base color usually have, let's call this base. Base color usually have the red, green, and blue for color. But you can also add something like opacity or maybe roughness to your alpha channel. So that means you can combine 2 textures. And then you have what could be called a mask. It could be called a reflection texture. It's called a nom, which is usually shortening for normal, opacity, metallic. It has all different abbreviations. But we could add, for example, we could add, a usual one is ORM, which is very common when it comes to megascans. And that would usually be opacity in the red channel, and in the blue channel you would have roughness, and in the blue channel, I'm trying to think at the same time, you would have metallic, which would be ORM. And then in the alpha you can add, I would usually add heights in alpha. It really depends. There are a few technical things you might want to consider. I believe some of these color channels has just slightly more data to it. Don't quote me on that. That's something I heard many years ago. Haven't never really used that as a proper, like, oh, we need to do this because of this type of scenario before. But yeah, you can definitely do this. So then that would mean we go from 1 to actually, let's just say we don't use the alpha for now. So there's 1 textures, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 textures, or 5 textures. So that could be 5 textures if we gave them a single texture file by themselves, but now we have 2 instead. So we lowered it from 5 to 2, saved 3 texture samples, which is a big thing. Because if you have, let's say, a big project will probably have thousands of materials in Unreal or Unity. And if each one of those contains up to 5 textures, you would have 5,500, 5,000. You will have a lot of textures. But you can lower that by more than 60% to 2 textures. In some cases, you can even lower it further. Because I did forget, we do have the normal texture. So they would usually be 3 textures. So this will be a 3, not a 2. Still, that's 40% saved data. So that's why packing is such a big thing. And there's even further we can go. We can I've worked with projects where the base color and normals were the only one because we use the abbreviation num, which would be you would have the top two would be the red channel from and the green channel from your normals, and the blue would be in this case opacity, I believe, and the alpha would be your metallic. Can't spell. Never mind. Oh, god damn it. There we go. And excuse my terrible writing style. But as you can see, hopefully through my exposure to that, you can save a lot of time and data, not time, but data space in your projects by doing packed textures. And Painter has gracefully given us some really cool ways to do this. I think it's cool. Let's save one more time. So let's see, export. Oh, is it export? I think it's export. Let's try export, see what happens. All right. So we could go to output templates, and here you have a ton of various industry standards. You have CryEngine, you have Dota 2. That's how they pack their textures, apparently. Never used it before. You also have Unreal's own version packed. So they've done the same thing. I'm going to, just for the sake of it, create my own. We can create my own. We're going to call it... let's just call it custom package. Call it whatever you want. And then we can start adding to this. I'm going to see if I can remember all of this. I think we can do this. A double click. It's been a while. We're supposed to be able to just add output paths. Do I need to do this? Okay, I need to do that. Let's go with an RGB plus A. And we can then select, and we drag and drop. Okay, so we can drag and drop a base color into the RGB channel. That's necessary. You can't get away with that. You need to do that. So the base color needs the RGB, but in its alpha, we could do a height, an alpha channel. We can call this base color plus height. Might change that later on depending on how it looks in the output window. We can actually check that. This is what it's going to look like when it exports, so that's not what we want. So let's do this instead. Remove this, click this icon, and we're going to choose the texture set. If you were here yesterday, you would... Hello, Selby. How you doing? Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. So, welcome, first of all, to the stream. I'm just creating a small rock, practicing my old... I've practiced in Zbrush, now I'm practicing in texture, or I'm relearning stuff. And right now, we're looking at some technical stuff for game development, how to create a package template in Painter. Really interesting, fun stuff for some, I guess. So either way, welcome, and I hope you can have a good time here in chat. Where we're at. Okay, so right. Yesterday we specifically named, I believe it was the material in Blender. So when we export that in texture sets, you can now see this is called StreamRock 01. Big thing, because when I choose this thing, go to list of exports, it should. Did not choose, I haven't chosen my custom package yet. I just choose my package in settings, and in here you can now see it's called StreamRock 01. So that will always happen. That's a nice hack. That helps you out quite a lot. So let's just do this. I do that? Yeah, I can. See what that did. That added that. Perfect. Next, what else? I don't think I need any of these, but we're going to call this. what should we call it? We have, let's just call it BH for base color and height. And now we have a Streamrock 01 base color height PNG 2K texture. Perfect. And it has the regular colors and the alpha. Great. And we can just keep on going. Next we want is the normals. And normals, I could go with the regular RGBA and only the red and green channels from the normals, but since this is not a super advanced thing, let's just go with the regular RGBA and add our normals. And I think we need to go with this one and not the normals in input maps. I can't really remember why, but let's do that. RGB. And let's copy this part, but change it to an R. Since I'm not using metallic for the rock, I can always add a regular scalar in Unreal. Just telling you this is a 0 because there's no metallic. I don't need the opacity. I only need the roughness, the base color, the normals. I have included height, but it's not necessary for this project. If you want that, you can always follow the same steps, just add it. But we're going to add the roughness. Where are you? Not reflection, is it? Roughness, I think it's this one. Add to alpha. Do I want PNG? There's some upsides with PNG. We could go for Targa. Both of these are what's called looseless textures, which means you are going to get a lot more information. It's going to look better. It's going to be larger in size. So whether or not you want that or not, it's up to you. I'm going to go with PNG. We can work with that. So let's check. We're going to get 2 textures, base color height, and normal roughness in 8 bits. 8 bits, very common for game development. You could go up to 16, but that's up to your project. I would say it's 8 bits. We can work with that. And we can then go back to settings, make sure everything, again, looks great. Yes. I'm going to pass this into my folder. I'm going to call it, let's go for my Zbrush practice folder. That's fine. Custom package, PNG, we could set this to based on output, which means that every time we change output, this file type will also change. Otherwise, I think this one overrides the template. So that's good to know. Based on each text assets file, I can just make sure this is 2048. Padding, I'm not sure if we need to change that, so let's keep it as is. I'm going to save once, just so that one, it doesn't go away for us. Export again, export, and we're done. So hopefully, if I've done this correctly, it should look proper in this part. So as far as I can tell, it looks proper. I can't see the alpha channel, I believe. But looking at this, this looks correct to me, so we're going to go to Epic, and of course, I didn't prepare Epic, so we need to wait for it to launch. So in the meantime, I'm going to have some water. There we go. How's the waterfall coming along, Shrill? Is it starting to make sense? Is me swallowing water going through the mic? No, but it was spiking. The audio mixer showed something. This is something else. Maybe I'm give off sounds I'm not even aware of. Let's see, we can do this. I might have to turn Painter off depending on what my GPU says. This song reminds me, I want to listen to, do I? Maybe that's not appropriate. I was thinking of listening to some Metal Crew. Maybe not. I'd say their lyrics is appropriate for all streams. All right, so let's go to, actually, let's just create a new level. Let's go with basics. There we go. What else do I need to do? Let's import the textures first of all. Let's just add them in content. Why isn't anything showing? Oh, volume textures, there you go. For now, let's add them in this section. Let's do an import to game. Let's look for practice. And I need to import these two. And now we can check if our export worked. Let's start with the base color, and we can turn off these channels. And the reason we don't have alpha is because of compression settings. So let's change that to BC7, and all of a sudden we have alpha. Perfect. So let's check. So the RGB works fine, and let's isolate those, and the alpha, which should have been our height, which makes sense. Our height, we didn't work on height in Paint, so this should look like this. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. What you want to see though is a black and white texture. So let's ignore this part right now. What's more interesting might be the normals. And first of all, very important when it comes to normals, make sure this setting, the sRGB, isn't turned on. I'm pretty sure Unreal does this by default, but if it's turned on, turn it off, especially for the normals. And if you decide to go with the ORM, with the opacity, roughness, metallic packed texture, same thing, needs to be turned off. Because we're not working, when it comes to those textures, we're not working in sRGB, so turn those off. Base color, absolutely turn on. Don't touch it. Just making sure if it's, yeah, it's correct. Can I check my, why can't I touch the blue? Same thing. There's a BC7. And let's turn this on. That looks correct from the normal. And for the alpha, so it's off. It's not showing the correct one. So something went wrong in our packing, which makes sense. It's been a while. Oh, wrong button. There we go. So let's look at what could have gone wrong. I wanted to add glossiness. No? Oh, sorry, that's not the right. There we go. So it says that I'm not using the right. So something happens. Let's check the Unreal to get a understanding what's going on. Which one is it though? What are you? Your metallic, your roughness. And your, that is correct, but it's grayscale. Could that be the thing? Because you're in alpha. Okay, so I need to clear you because you might have to be, rather than alpha, you have to be grayscale. So let's check again with, what are you? Emissive normals. Normals, RGB. I think that's correct. Let's go back. RGB, then you might also have to be cleared and reset as a gray channel. I can't really tell the difference between what the alpha or the gray scale thing is, but apparently according to, if you compare it to the Unreal template, it needs to be grayscale. You can see within the brackets. So let's try that. All looks fine. So export. Go back to Unreal. Let's re-import. Okay, so apparently that works because now I have information in my alpha. So height, there's no information, and the RGB looks fine. And this needs to be re-imported, and now I have my roughness, perfect, and my normals, awesome. So we're doing great. So what we need now is the mesh. And normally I wouldn't use the low poly that I used for exports. I'm going to do that this time because it's just the same time, but otherwise I would go back into Blender, rename things so that I exported it as a proper name. So rather than Stream Rock Practice Low, I think that's the name of it, I would call it Stream Rock 01 or Rock 01, depending. I would call it something that gives it a proper name in Unreal. So when I look at it, I can kind of tell what it is apart from the name or the small image you get, because that doesn't always tell you everything, because it could be a small rock, it could be a huge rock. So you would definitely want to name it properly. Well, for the sake of time, I'm going to pick the Stream Rock Low, which I used in Painter. And this looks new to me. Might be a Unreal 5.5 thing. Or is this 5.6? I can't remember. So let's not look at that. I don't think we need to. Okay, this is all. That's perfect. So I'm not going to do anything about these. I don't have LODs, which is level of details. I'm going to turn that off. Let's turn that off because I'm not baking meshes. I have a single mesh. We can keep that on. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Don't use vertex colors. We can leave that. Technically, I can turn this off. I don't think that's going to be a problem because there are no bone hierarchy. How to compute, leave. Collision, I could do something about collision. Then again, we're not going to look at collision and as a playing game asset. It's just going to be looking at the textures and how to import the mesh, just basic import stuff. You can leave this. All of these are not going to do any difference because we don't have a skeleton mesh, so it's fine. You can leave animation because we don't have animation. I don't need to import a material. I'm going to create my own, so I'm going to turn this off. No, we can leave it on because it's going to create a master material for us, so we can use that. So I'm going to leave it. If you don't want there to be a new material imported and created, because you have already one inside your project, you can turn this off. Import this material, yes. Import texture, we don't have any, so we can turn that off. And let's import. So what should happen, there you go, we have one material and a rock. So let's open this and check. All right. So this is a problem. Why I now remember I shouldn't use the one I export, because that's also an OBJ. That's a problem. We can't use OBJs. Well, we can technically. We want to use FBX files, so we're going to have to go back to Blender. I'm going to have to slow down a bit, but I'm kind of running out of time. I'm going to have to end in about half an hour. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to hide you. I'm going to turn you off so you can't select these. Actually, I'm going to have to turn you on quickly. And do this duplicate. Turn this bit off. And since I'm doing this as a tutorial, I should probably show you how to do it the usual way, not through add-ons. So let's call you Stream Rock 01. Make sure these values are what we call frozen or reset, which means they should be zeroed out, rotation should be 0, scale should be 1. And you can do that through Control A and apply all transforms. Next, we want to do an export. We want to do an FBX. Yeah, it's a proper one. I don't think I have. I do have a template, so we can look at that. And the things you want to make sure are set is that you want to make sure it's selected. Armature you technically don't need, so you can shift click that one. So you only have mesh. Armature means rig. We don't rig this model. Make sure these settings are set. We could go for X forward, Z up. I think that's proper because that's how we imported it and exported it earlier. So let's go with that. And I just match what Unreal does. Unreal, I'm pretty sure Unreal does X as forward, positive X, and Z is upward. So let's do that to match those things. We don't need bake animation. Armature, I usually turn add leaf bones off, but it's not going to be a problem if you don't have a rig. Geometry, make sure it's face, make sure it's apply modifiers. Technically, it's not necessary unless you're actually using modifiers, but I usually have that on. I think it's on by default. And triangulate faces, which means that, so what's happening when Unreal imports a mesh, it triangulates all my quads. So each square or n-gon, which is more than 4 sides of a face. So you have face would be a square, but it triangulates each one of those. So you no longer have quads or n-gons, it's all triangles. Unfortunately, the shading can get messed up if you don't do that triangulation in Blender or Maya, whatever software you're using. And that's just how the different softwares calculates these things, the triangulation. So do that in here, make sure the shading looks correct, and then export with that triangulation. And you don't have to worry that the mesh inside Blender gets triangulated. This is just on export. So let's try, let's see if I'm correct in my settings. So once you've exported, let's go back to Unreal. And what we can do now, we can actually kind of delete these two. I don't want them anymore. Then do a new import. And I'm going to select my FBX file. I'm doing it on my second monitor, this side. Same settings. I think it's the same. I don't think we have to change anything. I think we could keep it by default. So let's just do that, a default. And hopefully, say the same thing. So what's going on? It's a scaling thing. Blender uses meters by default, and Unreal uses centimeters. So if you send a unit of 1, which is meters in a full meter in Blender, but 1 unit in Unreal is a centimeter. So it gets 1/100th of the size when you export or import. So we need a new setting in either the import setting or the export settings. And that's why I love this add-on, because it does that for me. But I'm pretty sure what we can do if we go to export again. So we can select this and let's go to, for some reason it removed all of these. Just give me a second. I should have saved it, but I didn't. So we're going to have to quickly add these back. So let's just add 100 to the scale and try again. Hopefully this is correct. So now we're just going to have to go to this, re-import mesh. Didn't work. Always fun, like you're trying to look like you know what you're doing and nothing works. Because it is correct here. That's correct. Export. Okay, let's try this settings instead. This is another preset I made. Apply all local. Could be. Is that what I messed up? I don't know if that's what I messed up. Let's make sure it's not even correct setup. It could be this. Let's try FBX all. Something in my head tells me that's the right one. Triangulate. I'm going to keep the scale to 1 now because changing this could be enough. I hope. I'm going to do re-import this way this time. And I don't think anything happened. Nope. All right, let's try again. Actually, let's... just read up a bit. Because there is something I'm missing. All right, so this one tells me to do a slightly different approach to the settings one. Okay, so let's go back to Unreal settings. Tells me to do a uniscale. I guess this is the downside of using add-ons. I can't remember how I did this. And other than that, it does... Okay, so it tells me smoothing should be edge. I'm pretty sure it should be face. And tangent space. Okay, I'm going to keep that. See what that did for us. Nothing. Okay. This isn't fun at all. Selected. I'm going to try this one last time. If it doesn't work, I'm going to keep you on this time. And we're going to do this. Let's call it export. Don't have to do this every time. You have multiple of you now? No, perfect. All right, try again. At some point, I'm going to make this correct. What are your thoughts on this? I'm looking at a YouTube thing right now. There's something I'm missing. I'm not sure what. It didn't change anything, did it? All right. Hold on. Oh. Is this... Okay, 1 second here. Am I importing the wrong thing? No, I don't think I am. Export. No, I just renamed it. Didn't give it the proper name. I don't think this is going to make a difference. I think it's the same issue as before. I just fixed the naming of it, but still too small. Okay, so I'm going to check my advanced dialog for this one. What are you doing? Alpha, you're doing that. Don't see a difference. Apply, face, yes, yes. This looks all correct. Export disk. That's my personal stuff. Doesn't matter. Let's try this. I'm going to add you to these folders. Export. Animation doesn't matter. These are just going to add some kind of prefixes. Just going to add like an SM, which stands for static mesh. I can actually turn that off for now. I'm not going to import. Okay. All right. And it needs to be on the mesh. So now if I go to my folder, refresh. So the time is correct. And okay. I'm really confused right now. It shouldn't be this difficult. But it is apparently. This is definitely the wrong way to do this. It's not even grabbing that part. Right. I can't sit here and continue doing this. I don't know why this is not working. I'm going to look it up because something is wrong the way I'm doing it. I'm doing it wrong. So whatever I've done past 15 minutes, let's rewind that and forget about it. And for now, look up what others are doing. I don't understand why this is not working. I've done it 1,000 times. For some reason it's not working. But I'm going to do this instead. So let's just import you and add 100 to my values like this. It's a workaround. It's not a good one, but it's a workaround. Next, let's go to material. I can at least show you this part. We're going to delete all of these because we don't need those. Then we're going to grab all my textures we just imported, grab them in. Just drag and drop. And for just a basic setup, that's just going to work. We're going to drag base color. This is height, so we don't need that. We're going to grab normals. And from the alpha, we're going to grab those into roughness. And that just works. It should just work. Have I completely forgotten how to do this? Kind of looks all right from here. Feels like there's something off. Can't really put my finger on it. I think it's the normals. But we have a rock in our reel. So the past, let's say the past 10-15 minutes are... Let's forget all about that. I need to look at what I've forgotten because some things isn't working as it should. And I'm going to repeat this a few times, I think. I think for now, let's just focus on what I did in Substance. And I'm going to look this up, give you a proper answer at some other point. Could be, it's probably just the export stuff that's messing this up, or perhaps the import settings in Unreal. One of those two is way off. So, all right. Let's, for me, it's the end of time I have. So I'm just going to quickly transition over to this screen. I'm trying to catch my breath and thoughts because I'm a bit confused right now. Well, let's update this doc to select where we are, and I'm going to put you as done. I would say I'm pretty sure 99.9% of what I did for the export and import to Unreal were correct. Because nothing comes to mind right now. So I'm going to put this as work in progress. And I'm going to look that up. And also figure out what to do on the next stream, which is, it's Sunday today, so on Wednesday. I might go for another round of modeling because this was a lot of fun. And next time, I'm interested in some hard surface modeling, I think. I had the idea of creating a lantern, so we're going to work with some glass materials, some hard surface techniques, splines probably, because we're going to have the handle. So there's quite a lot of new ways of working. New as in I haven't done on stream before. I think that's where we're going to leave this recap of what we've done today and will be doing. So Shrill, how's it going? Might be focusing on your own thing right now. Should probably learn how to look at my view count. There's a lot of things I need to learn when it comes to streaming. Small, minute details. So I love that I have a bit more interesting music this time around, or more personal preference. All right, I think that's it. I'm gonna stop the japping, stop the confused streamer role. I'm gonna end it here. It was a fun stream all the way up till the end, and with that, please, if you like what I do, consider following. And I'll be back on Wednesday. I do stream 5 times a week, Wednesdays through Sunday, same time. European time, that would be 6 a.m. to 9. For everyone else, I'm going to leave it up to you to figure that out, but that's the standard times I'm working with. Other than that, I do upload all of my stuff to YouTube. Just Google my name, the studio name, which is Everkindle Studio. I will eventually have an overlay somewhere up here, so it's easier to find me. And I plan on pushing or uploading a tutorial soon. I'll talk more about that in the future once I've finished some of the details. And that's it. So thank you all for coming in here and showing up. And I'll see you all on Wednesday. Have a good day. Bye.